distinguished guests, my former colleague presidents. I wouldn't dare address Anirudh Jagannath as my former colleague president, Anirudh Jagannath. Lady Jagannath, leader of the opposition. That's the first time that I have the opportunity of welcoming the leader of the opposition, the new leader of the opposition, and members of the National Assembly, former Vice President of the Republic, distinguished guests, friends. I'm particularly thankful to Mr. Ibrahim Aladdin, the author, and Mr. Shafiq Osman, the publisher, for associating me with the launch of the book on Sir Anirudh Jagannath in the new series, Living Legends. 3 former presidents of the Republic sitting in a row is neither a common nor an everyday occurrence. I relish the idea of spending some time with my 2 other peers for this launch ceremony, if only for the photo opportunity it provides. But when I started drafting my speech, my intervention, I suddenly realized that all 3 of us are not only formers, but formers who, although not quitters, resigned their post as president, each one, albeit for a different reason. But more surprisingly still, our predecessor, late Sir Veerasamy Ringadu too, resigned his post. All 4 presidents, since the advent of the Republic in 1992, failed to complete their term of office and have all so far resigned. This is surely not a coincidence. I'm not of the superstitious type, but I must admit that I find something strange and rather eerie surrounding the post of the President of the Republic of Mauritius. Is the Mauritius President unknowingly made to sit on a pilot ejector chair? Our author Aladdin has no magic lamp, like the Mille Nuits hero, to provide us with the explanation of this most unusual phenomenon. I'm not giving any warning to the current President of the Republic. We might all be proved wrong, and he might end up his term of office until the end of that term. But our author Aladdin uses his pen, among other things, among other reasons, to explain why or how some people become living legends. Ibrahim Aladdin, who incidentally authored my own biography, published by the Édition Le Printemps in 1997, not 92, in 1997, is personally known to me as an intellectually honest scholar who has established himself as a social critic, a respected educator, as well as a novelist. He has studied in Canada, as you've heard, where he obtained his PhD degree, and worked as university professor in Canada itself, in Russia, and in India. He is currently the president and CEO of Phoenix Education and Management Consulting Incorporated, while lecturing at the Dr. Mahalingam International Institute of Technology in India. Mr. Aladdin is a Paul Harris Fellow and resides in Mauritius and Canada. To me, he has the perfect credentials to write about Sir Anirudh Jagannath, since besides being an academic and a writer of proven record, he has never stopped keeping abreast of the social, economic, and political development of Mauritius, even when he was studying and afterwards teaching in Canada and elsewhere. In his preface to the book that is about to be launched, Mr. Aladdin underscores the fact that the book is not a biography. It is not a biography of Sir Anirudh Jagannath that he has written, but rather an examination of his political career and his rise to political fame. In other words, Professor Aladdin talks about Sir Anirudh Jagannath's public life and avoids his private life. He could be entirely right in his choice, because there is nothing to write. There is nothing to learn from Anirudh's private life, since it is an open book with, to the best of everybody's knowledge, no murky episodes. Actually, Saj, if you don't mind, I shall from now on refer to Sir Anirudh as Saj. Saj is the absolute epitome of the family man, a most loving husband, father, and grandfather. Few political leaders in this country provide such a model to be emulated by the rising generations, as Saj does, at a time when it is common knowledge that basic family values are being rapidly and steadily eroded. Throughout the pages of the book, the author tries to be as objective an observer as possible to the political trajectory of the one whom he describes as the savior of the nation, and who fits squarely in his definition of a living legend. The Osman Publishing Company, the Shafiq and Padma Sigra Osman at the head, is always on the lookout for special and original products. I wish their Living Legend series all the success it deserves. But I must confess that I find very few local living legends around. Although I'm aware of Shafiq's resourcefulness, I think you will have to look elsewhere, and very carefully, for candidates who meet the criteria to be considered and defined as living legends. I do not pretend to know Saj, the man and the politician, thoroughly. But by any standard, the man behind the politician commands admiration and respect. I have known him both as a political friend and a political foe. Foe in the sense of opponent, not enemy. I haven't seen eye to eye with him on quite a number of occasions, on quite a number of issues. I have even at a certain point in time vehemently criticized him on some of his decisions. Yet I recognize in him great qualities of leadership. He is a man of decision, with a strong character and determination, and a high sense of duty. It is a known fact that as Prime Minister, he used to run the affairs of the country in a very thrifty manner, and looked after the public coffers as he does his own personal estate, insisting on control and moderate expenses and the need for savings and for avoiding waste at all cost. Although ideologically a liberal, he was never liberal with money, especially public funds. And I remember how, on one occasion, his Minister of Foreign Affairs had to persuade him and literally force him to undertake an official visit to a friendly country. He refused the squandering of public funds and to undertake unnecessary trips at the expense of the exchequer, while Mauritian diplomats based in our missions abroad could do the job equally well. He is rightly considered as the father of the economic development of Mauritius. And thanks to him and to a few of his ministerial team players, people around the world have come to refer to Mauritius as the economic miracle of Africa. And they would come from far and near, as they still do today, to study more closely the miraculous transformation within such a short period of time of a small country with no mineral or other natural resources and no assets except human resources. The author takes us through the post-independence economic history of Mauritius to highlight the remarkable achievement of the country under the uncomparable and unmatched leadership of Saj. Saj has also left his indelible mark on the political history of the country. His involvement in politics covers a span of exactly half a century this year. He was the chairman of the Palma Village Council when in 1963 he was approached by the IFB to be its candidate in the constituency of Rivière-du-Rempart for the general elections scheduled for the 21st of October of that year. He was to stand against one of the Labour Party's stalwarts, Onut Bijadar, who was already an elected member of Parliament of that from that constituency and had been the country's Minister of Education for some time. Against all odds and giving a lie to all forecasts, Anirudh won the seat with 55% of the votes cast. As member of the IFB under the leadership of Sukhdeo Bisundayal, he was to participate in the September 1965 Constitutional Conference in London that was to usher Mauritius after the general elections of 1967 into the independence era. He played a key role in that conference and succeeded in persuading Sukhdeo Bisundayal to join his erstwhile political opponent, Sir Simsagar Ramgoolam, to ask for the independence of Mauritius. The author doesn't tell us much about Saj's relationship with Sir Simsagar, nor the extent of the trust he had in him. He does, however, relate to us. He does, however, relate to us the deal that took place between Sir Simsagar Ramgoolam and Sir Simsagar Ramgoolam alone and the British on the accession of the Chagos archipelago in return for the promise of independence. Nobody else from the Mauritius delegation was privy to that deal. It was a secret deal, a sellout of the British colonialists. Sir Simsagar didn't seem to trust any of his colleagues, including Saj, who were all kept in the dark throughout the infamous negotiations. Throughout the infamous negotiation process that was to result in the forcible removal of the whole population of the Chagos archipelago to make room for the establishment of a US nuclear base on the main island of Diego Garcia. However, Sir Simsagar was soon after to bring Saj as one of his cabinet ministers, to serve first as Minister of State for Development and then as Minister of Labour. It was a short-lived experience and relationship. As a result of serious differences and diverging views, according to author Aladdin, between Saj and Prime Minister Sir Simsagar Ramgoolam on government policies and actions to be initiated in order to solve the chronic unemployment problem that prevailed, Saj resigned and left politics. That was only temporary. For bitten by the political bug, he was a couple of years later to come back with a vengeance alongside Paul Béranger. He became the leader of the emerging MMM party, was elected once more to Parliament, became leader of the opposition, then Prime Minister as leader of the MMM, and again Prime Minister as leader of the MSN, and to crown it all as President of the Republic. A republic that is of his making. Aladdin goes into the details of the rich and unique career that makes of Saj indeed a living legend. It is he who made of Mauritius a republic, and he fully deserves the title of the architect of the republic that has been bestowed upon him not only by his well-wishers, but by the Mauritian population at large. He brought legislation, actually a constitutional amendment, that was to convert a constitutional monarchy that Mauritius was into a republic, thus removing the last vestiges of colonialism and bringing dignity and prestige to our country and our people. Ever since, his son of the soil has been the head of the state of Mauritius. When he believes something is good for the country and necessary for the country, Saj never gives up before achieving his goal. The accession of Mauritius to the status of republic is a case in point. It was after he was twice thwarted in his aim. In December 1983, incidentally by the MMM, who chose to abstain on his motion. And in August 1990, due to a cabal, a secret political plot inspired by a couple of London resident politicians in the making, that finally, in December 1991, the National Assembly had the required majority to amend the Constitution, in spite of the Labour Party voting against it, to make of Mauritius a republic within the Commonwealth. Recently, some apprehension and even some fear as a result of awkward and irresponsible public statements have been expressed regarding the possibility of Mauritius choosing an alternative appeal court in lieu of the Privy Council. I felt it appropriate to quote what Saj said in his speech on the bill that was to make of Mauritius a republic. And I quote, "I am pleased to inform the House," he said, "that it is proposed to retain the right of appeal to the Privy Council. There appears to be a general feeling, not only in the legal profession, but in every section of the population, that if Mauritius becomes a republic, the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council should remain our highest court. This will require an act of the British Parliament empowering the Queen to make an order in Council authorising the Judicial Committee to entertain appeals from the Republic of Mauritius. As soon as the bill is passed, I propose to write officially to the authorities concerned," unquote. This undertaking was respected and is effective until today. I don't personally believe we should in any way tamper with it, at least not at this stage. Former leader of a political party, former minister, former prime minister, former president of the Republic, Saj remains even today, at the honourable age that he has reached, a political animal. And his opponents need to take care and beware. The political animal is back in the arena. Aladdin's book on Saj is an interesting and very readable book. I strongly recommend it to all those who are interested in local politics and in the economic development of our country, and who are interested to know what a living legend means. I thank you for your attention.